Hi guys, we take a closer look at the PreSonus StudioLive 16.0.2 digital mixer. It's a mixing and a recording studio system that is perfect, I think, for whatever project it is, whether that be a band, home recording, the studio itself, church, theatre, etc. I think this is the perfect mixer for you. It's portable in size, no more than 2 feet. Fortunately, it's not light, it's pretty heavy, but that is expected with a hardware packed with such a powerful system. Solid in construction and physically feels like a tank, so it's bound to last you a very long time. Now previously I owned an analog mixer by Behringer Xyenx USB range. It's an awesome mixer to start with, but it had its limitation. The most frustrating was I couldn't record more than 2 channels at once, so if I had about 5 instruments I wanted to record, I just couldn't do so. Reason why I picked up this board is because it allows me to simultaneously record all 16 channels together back and forth to any connected recorder, my desktop, laptop, or my whatever DAW it is that I'm using flawlessly. Here is an example on the Machine 2.0 software where both the inputs and the outputs take full accessibility of the mixer. So you could actually multi-track record on all 16 channels, whether that's mono or stereo. Same here on Elberton, where both input config and output config takes the full sort of like capability of the stereo recording, 16 stereo, 16 mono, and then if you go into Logic, again, exactly the same, stereo outputs, mono outputs, taking full advantage of that Firewire capabilities. GarageBand, before I was limited to only 2 channel, and now I've got the full accessibility of all 16. Now this is made possible because the PreSonus has an integrated 16 by 16 Firewire interface rather than a USB interface, allowing you to truly multi-record. Now the mixing desk is facing directly at you rather than you looking on top of it, and the bottom layer where the faders are is nice and flat, so easy accessible. Now here demonstrated by the side, you could see how the mixer slopes its way up, so that way its face is portraying towards you rather than it being flat and you looking down on top of the mixer. Now all of the wiring is at the back of the mixer rather than being in front on top, so it makes it a lot more professional, more tidy, and every single wire is tacked away at the back and you don't really have to see it. Now the mixer offers 8 monochannel inputs via XLR or 1/4 inch line in, and these are class A mic preamps as well, so you get top of the range quality for these inputs. You also have the same on your talkback. The mixer also provides a lot of inputs for monitors. You could connect the numerous amount of monitors. You've got your main output, 1/4 inch left and right, monitor output, left and right 1/4 inch out, and then you've got of course your auxiliary outputs, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Further below you got your XLR main outputs with a leveler in case it's just too loud and amplified. You got a mono outputs as well with its own leveler XLR. Now what's unique to this model compared to the bigger brothers that don't have these features, the Midi in and out, which you can control the hardware and software of your DAW. It comes with a Firewire as well, so 2 Firewire inputs, and you got a 2 amp fuse, your main plug adapter, and then just by the side there you've got your power switch on and off. We have our stereo inputs, so 4 stereo inputs. You've got your 2 unbalanced RCA connection, and then you've got the preamp microphones XLR connection as well, and you've got also the same on the talkback mic, which will be like your 9th mono input. And in front of the mixing board, that's where you'll have your headphone jack to plug in your headphones. Now in front on top of the mixer, we've got our main gain controls with the rotary knobs, and it's clearly highlighted what channel each gain is associated with, your mono, and of course you've got your stereo channels as well. So it's nicely highlighted and clearly sort of like layered out nicely, sort of like painted gray, so you could clearly distinguish the difference. The rotary knob, it's nice and smooth, so everything is nicely highlighted. It's not touch sensitive, just bear that in mind. By the side, we've got our encoders switches buttons. You've got your general equalization button, FXA, FXB, auxiliary 1, 2, 3, and auxiliary 4. And again, these are nicely highlighted by the side in its own categorized area. Now the encoder buttons are nicely highlighted in this sort of like yellow or orangey color to indicate that it's active and it's on. Buttons are quite squishy, so overall it's nice and comfortable, and it's got a little click towards them. Now in the center of the board we have the fat channel that is highlighted in a complete dark blue section. So this is where all the processing power and adjustment and everything happens on the board, where you pretty much spend the majority of your time. Now the fat channel is not only clearly labeled, with every channel being equipped with this big bright meter display, you have clear indication of the value that you are at and the center spot, and also the parameter section that you are adjusting. But you also get this 16 ladder LED display, top one being the red clip indicating if that channel is being overpowered. So you're getting a mix of both the analog and the digital control, which is actually awesome. The rotary trim controls again are clearly labeled for each individual knobs. In regards to the dynamic processing that you're going to take full control of various parameters. So nice and smooth, but unfortunately just remember these are not touch sensitive. These are a mixture of analog and digital control mixed together as one. Now in the fat channel you also have various parameters that is accessible on board, nicely highlighted in the blue strip. You've got your high pass, and then you've got your gate, again nicely stripped down, it's in its own particular area. You've got your digital out, you've got your compressors, and that is that whole entire blue section where you could adjust your threshold, ratio, response, and gain with the rotary encoder knobs. And then you've got your limiter button on as well, so each can be activated by just pressing down on the each button under that particular section, which will highlight in an orange color to indicate that it's on, and pressing it again will go gray indicating that the processing power is off. Now on the right hand side you've got your equalization section, which is nicely again clearly highlighted with different blue layers strip. You've got your lows, your mids, and your highs, and each has its own gain and frequency control, and these are controlled by the rotary knobs. And to activate these again, it's a matter of pressing the button on each of the section, and that will activate the equalization. And once that's pretty much done, it's just a matter of using the rotary knob to adjust your various frequency, your gains and control, which is again nicely highlighted by that digital bright leveler in LED colored. Now the mixer has its own dedicated separate horizontal pan display with its own rotary knob where you could adjust the pan left and right, but also link each channel, two channels together to intertwine the pan accordingly, the left and right. Onboard phantom power and the low cut as well for each channel. You've got a dedicated channel strip to copy, load various presets and save. You've got a selected channel display, so that way you know what channel you are on, and that's nicely highlighted to correspond to whatever channel you've selected. Here's an example of the phantom power being put on various different channels. It's not dedicated to one. Channel 3 I had phantom power on, channel 5 I never had it on, so depending on where you have your mic connected, that phantom power is accessible on every single channel that is available. Now that's what's the great thing about the fat channel. It's not just dedicated to one channel, it's every single channel. So if you have cut on channel 6 for example, compression on, and you have a various settings, and if you quickly jump to another channel 8, that's not going to be on that channel. So each channel you can assign its own dedicated parameters, different various settings, different processes going on, and each particular channel. So nothing is dedicated to one channel. It's really customizable where every channel will have its own dedicated controls and settings. By the side of the channel strip you have color coded function buttons for the mute, solo, and firewire. Firewire being some dark orange, solo yellow, and mute of course being red. And if you have it, for example, firewire, you could highlight the entire whole 16 channels if you have various instruments connected to record back into your computer. Pressing the solo button will highlight in yellow, and again similar same routine where every single button that you press will solo itself out, so it doesn't have to be everything. So it's like particular solo button will be highlighted in yellow, and the mute button will pretty much mute all the selected channel, and this is including your auxiliary as well, that has its own dedicated control, nicely highlighted in red to mute. Select button is always indicating with the blue button, but at the same time, like I said, you can link the pans or link two channels together, and you could pretty much split the pans to left and right. What we have here is the main master control center. This will display your various different pages, settings that you have selected, and where you can make various adjustments. Just on top we have this lamp input as well, so if you were using it at night time and you required more light, you can connect a lamp. So you got a page up and a page down, so pretty much browse through the different various pages that has different quick look functions to each of the particular settings. I've got it on effects at the moment, so I'm pretty much browsing through the effects A and B and various different settings. Now say if I wanted to browse for the various different effects that is available, or different various settings, you have this dedicated encoder where it can change the various different value and browse for whatever settings or preset that is made available. And if I wanted to further go into the different sort of like settings or just the delay of that particular effects, I would use the previous and the next button, and then of course use the encoder to change the various different value. I've got a dedicated tap button, so that way you could tap the required pitch level that you need, or the delay amount that you need in a particular effects. You've got a scene button, system, store, and a recall button. Now what the recall button does is you will, for example, highlight the preset you want to apply, press recall, and that will apply that particular preset, whatever channel that you've highlighted, and it will again show in the LCD there. Press the recall button, you will press it, it will apply that particular settings. In the scene control, you have a bank memory of various sort of like scenes that you would have tailored or saved in regards to the various settings that you might have assigned, your EQ, dynamic processing, auxiliary, faders. You've got up to 80 sort of like channels or banks of memory where you could save whatever settings needs to be saved, just in case the mixer tends to switch itself off, or you need to recall your last settings, because various adjustments are being made and you can't really remember everything. So it's quite handy to have that scene sort of like a bank where you could recall your particular settings that you last had. On the system control, you could adjust your LCD contrast, and you could adjust also your LCD backlight on the screen to high and low. Again, pressing next will pretty much go down to the next value, using the encoder to change the value of that. You got a store button that will become in handy when you use the channel strip to load various preset to each channel. And of course you got the recall button to apply a particular preset or settings. Now the master section comes complete with various engines. You've got two FX engine, FXA and FXB, its own dedicated rotary knob to set the levels, and then you've got selected channels that you want to direct the effects processing to. So you've got auxiliary 1 to 4 on both FXA and B. You got to the main board or to the selected channel, and then you got the talk back and the solo cue and monitor own dedicated strip. So you got your own talk back strip. Again, you could direct to whatever various channels you want to. You've got the cue clip, the solo clip, So you could pretty much set up your level of each particular channel, PFL, metering, AFL, and so on. And you've got your monitoring strip where you have your phone's control for your headphones and your monitoring level for your monitoring that you have connected of each particular channel, firewire, dedicated button, solo, and main button. Below all of these, you have your nicely illuminated blue select button for each channel that you would select. It would highlight in blue just to indicate you selected that particular channel. Below those channels, you have your fader strip area where you've got your various different meter level buttons, and then you've got your crossfader sections all the way across to cover all of the channels, including your auxiliary, and you got your main outputs. So the auxiliary have their own control functionality. The favors in general are very nice to use. They're very smooth, not really sticky. They don't, you don't need a lot of force or pressure to pretty much move to the different indicated value. Same with the main outputs. Everything is nicely labeled, clear indicated in black color, so deep black, so you know what channel is what. And even looking at each of the fader strip, it's clearly highlighted where unity is in the various sort of like levels. By the side, you could see just by the side of the fader, you've got a little indicator there to just indicate to you at where the level is set. And the fader is nicely designed. It's got this little nice slope, so your finger just slides in, and again, not a lot of pressure is needed to pretty much set the level that you require. It's exactly the same on the auxiliary faders as well. What's also nice on the favor section is you've got these sort of like label strip as well, so that way you could write on top of them to indicate what instrument is connected to what channels, which is a nice feature to have. On the left hand side, you have some metering control buttons: input, output, GR for gain reduction, and fader locate. Each are pretty much switched on by pressing on the button. It will highlight, so like orangey yellowy color. The input turns the PFL input metering on and off. At the same time, it will show the level of each particular channel. The output button turns the AFL or output metering on and off, and will also show you the output channels. GR is to basically turn on the gain reduction metering on and off, and then fader locate pretty much turns fader recalling metering on and off, and will indicate to you where each faders is set on the various different channels. Now once you press the GEQ button, that will activate the multi-band equalizer that will use the metering LED display to show the slider position, and then you could further adjust the frequency of the bandwidth, have it fixed, fine tune that particular section. Overall, you're looking at a 31 band graphics EQ, which will consist of the sub bass, low mids, high mids, presence, brilliance. Now if you wanted to flatten all of it, all you need to do is just press the recall button, and that will flatten the whole 31 band equalization that you would have set. Now the effects A and effects B activated, it's quite fairly simple. You pretty much add from the master control what effects you want to attribute to FXA or FXB. Once that's selected, you pretty much will turn the rotary on the selected channel. Make sure on the main board you've selected A if you want it to be on and activated, and then just bring the level up on the channel and it will pretty much apply the effects on that channel. What's awesome about FXA and FXB is different channels can have either both effects applied, or one channel can have a certain effects applied while another will have a very different channel applied to that particular effects. So it's pretty good to pretty much be creative with, and it works quite fairly nicely. Now the FXA and FXB can be applied to every 16 channels. So you could see there each channel, I'm pretty much adjusting FXA onto that particular channel, or FXB, and if I switch between the two effects, you could see different levels has been set up on various different channels to whatever effects I want to add. And here is an example of the high pass filter, compressor, limiter and the freeband semi-parametric EQ being used on various amount of channels. Next up, I'm going to show you how to load specific presets for particular channels. Let's just say for channel 1 and 2 I have a snare playing. What I would do is select that channel, press the load button, go to the master control, and here you'll have access to various presets. You've got toms, kicks for various different instruments, going all the way up, I believe, to a good 80 or 60, yeah, about 50. So you've got 50 presets, and then you've got additional presets that you could add for yourself. So I've got snare playing, and if I press the recall button, that will change the various sound effects. So when you've selected your preset, you could press the save button, and that will pretty much store that preset on that particular channel. So say for example, on all of these various different channels I had toms, kick, different sort of like instruments being played. I could load a certain preset that's already customized for me, or I could make various adjustments and apply these to each particular channel. What these presets will also do is pretty much give my kit some life rather than being all flat. So it'll give it some nice warm sound towards it. So overall, that is my review of the PreSonus 16.0.2 digital mixing board. Hope you enjoy this review. Now there is a lot that I still haven't covered. There's the wireless functionality where you use your iPad to control various different settings, the 31 equal band, and a lot more. So that one I'm going to do a separate video on, so check that one out, because I don't want this video to be super long. It's already long as it is. So if you've enjoyed this video, if it's been helpful, then hit the like button. It's much appreciated, and check out for the next upcoming video on this mixer, showing you how to use the wireless functionality on your iPhone, on your iPad, and so forth.